How we feel about this. Um, let's bring in the guest, starting with.
Beginning, middle, end. Facts, details, condense, plot.
And let's bring in Lucia as well. And I think this one.
Tell me. Do you bleed? You will.
You know, of all things to use as the intro, I think this might actually be appropriate considering today's subject matter.
Yep. Yeah, so Arcane Season 2. Incredibly disappointing. Especially considering how freaking awesome the first season was.
The phrase disappointing is underselling it quite a bit. The term I would use is a betrayal.
Yeah.
Arcane Season 2, a complete and utter betrayal. That is how this season should be referred to as. Not merely a disappointment, not merely a misfire, betrayal.
Yeah, I would say pretty disastrous as well. Like this was unfortunately a major drop off in quality from the first season, and I think that one of the main explanations is they got rid of three of the original writers and brought in other ones.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
They brought in more writers. I thought it was just Christian Link who was basically doing all the writing along with two other individuals, including a veteran from the first season. Well, I use the term veteran loosely over here, but you know my meaning.
Well, my assumption was that 2 to 3 writers left, and then because of that, the bad inclinations of the remaining writers was then left unchecked.
Yep.
That was my understanding of since the ones that were left over were kind of the shippers apparently, or were suggesting a lot of shipping stuff, and then they were the ones that did not leave the project, and that's why some of the problems came in.
Shipping was just half of the issues regarding this show. Basically, to use Christian Link's terminology over here, basically the entirety of the show was reduced to an edge fest of one guy going around killing and beating people up. Except that was literally every action scene with almost every single character, barring Jason Victor.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and... I believe it's called yeah, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started by stating immediately that where did we leave off with the show? We left off with a rocket, a missile containing some horrible mixture of shimmer and powered by a gemstone, hurling straight over to the council's chambers. We see a back shot of Mel Maderda as the missile collides into the glass behind her. And we also get to see a nice shot at the reflection of that missile. And essentially, the way that most audiences would have interpreted that is because we saw little flashes of the other council members who are over there. The most generous interpretation of that was Mel is dead. She's gone. She's freaking dead. She's been murked. And, well, why wouldn't she be dead? Like,
she got
honestly,
basically a howitzer missile to the a tank buster missile right to the face.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say this right now. I'm going to say, to hell with everybody who whinges on about fridging. Is like, oh, she was just... It's like, no, shut up, sit down, think. What would be the most dramatically impactful thing that you can have happen right now? Because we know that Jace and Victor are champions in League of Legends, so we can't actually kill them here. We can, however, wound Victor to the point where he ends up becoming the Machine Herald, as he's known in the games. But Jace obviously has to survive. He could be injured, not killed, just injured. And Mel isn't in the games. Now, the whole point of this is that they're trying to stop a needless conflict from happening. That being the conflict between Piltover and Zaun, the Undercity. Now, and we also had this other setup over here with the weaponization of Hex Tech, because this is what it's really all about over here. It's about this revolutionary piece of technology that can be weaponized and used for war, and basically, Jace doesn't want that to happen. There's all this tension going on between the two halves of the cities, and just spontaneously, seemingly out of nowhere, the council just gets blown up. And there's this warmonger who came into town recently, going on about how they need to weaponize this stuff, putting her at odds with Jace. So, what event could possibly happen that would impact Jace and Mbessa on a personal level that would thrust them both into conflict with Zaun, that would cloud their judgment to the point such that a conflict with Zaun becomes inevitable, and it breaks out immediately? Mel.
Yeah.
Mel dies. If Mel dies, Mbessa is going to lose her crap. If Mel dies, Jace is going to lose his crap, and he will become very, very susceptible to weaponizing Hex Tech, and this appears to be the direction the show was going. The explosion caused by powder is going to kill a whole bunch of... Jinx is going to kill a whole bunch of people, including Mel. Jace is going to become more like his old game counterpart, where he was less likable, and he uses his Hex Tech for exclusively the benefit of Piltover. And Vi is going to end up having to join the Enforcers in order to get a shot at talking with Jinx and talking her out of, whatever terrorist bullcrap she's up to. And that was going to be the season finale for Arcane. The end of the show was probably going to be Powder is dead. Jinx is now dead. And that would be the end of the conflict. And Vi would have to kill her. And that would have been a beautifully cathartic and tragic ending.
But they decided that Jinx was too cool based on either...
We get that to pay off in episode 3 of the show, and even then, they backed away from it because they're cowards. And Mel survives. Everybody who we don't care about dies. And miraculously enough, they decide, oh no, Mel's actually a mage. She was secretly a mage the whole time. What?
Yeah, that was extremely lame. I was
Why?
not a fan of that.
Why? She was cool, just as she is. Why did you make her a mage? But we are skipping so far ahead over here.
Yeah.
But I just need to lay out immediately exactly how off the rails season 2 was compared to everything they were setting up in season 1. Oh, and I haven't even gotten started on Silco yet.
Yeah, they kind of ruined Silco a lot.
They memory hold him immediately. Like, This guy was running the underground. You can't just get rid of him and then expect nothing to happen.
Yeah, the amount of, especially since he was fundamentally the bureaucrat guy, he was the guy in control of a lot of the running of the day-to-day, and Savika is not a bureaucrat. She is not an administrator like Silco. She is a raw. She's, to use video game stuff, she's basically DPS. And
Savika is his right-hand woman. She was his executioner, his lieutenant, the dragon to his villain. Whatever terminologies you want to use, that was what Savika was. And yeah, they sort of just forgot about her. Sort of.
And
they just sort of
giving her this freaking dumb arm.
No. Here, I am going to
a dumb arm they get rid of really quickly.
Except they brought it back. He fixes the stupid arm.
I thought she still doesn't have it by the end.
No.
Remind me again, Aspiring. Did you see the last 3 episodes?
Oh, I saw it. I've seen all of it. Don't worry. Though granted, I forget if I skimmed the last one a shit ton. I might have.
To be fair, I would have done the same because you're not really missing out on much. It's just sort of, and then this happens, and then this happens, and oh look, wouldn't this be cool if this happens? Oh, let's make this happen. Oh no, all is lost. Don't worry. A bunch of people from the underground with a bunch of Molotov cocktails. One guy's got a pistol, a bunch of knives, and all. They're gonna run up to a spear wall. They're gonna run up to a fucking phalanx and run straight into the spears and collide into the shields. Because that's sound tactics, rather than that's sound military tactics. Sure. And they're going to win, by the way. This works. I want you to know that. This apparently works until freaking Victor sends in his Robo Death Squad.
Yes. All right. Let's pull up the show for a sec. Give me a moment. No.
So, Aspiring, would you like to take the wheel for a little bit? Because I've rambled quite a bit.
You've set up... What the... Why is... I have not looked at Netflix in an eternity, Jesus Christ. Alright, Arcane.
Should I rant some more while you get it up?
Yeah.
No, I'm right there now. So, let's go down this with episode by episode. So, you've mentioned where we've left off. So, where do we pick back up in Season 2? Well, first off, for some reason, Vi, we mentioned this, the whole survival scene, but also, Vi is just drunk as fuck. We just go to Vi and she is drunk. And then we meet this character, this useless fucking character, who doesn't say a word. I would like to mention this. This character doesn't say anything at all, ever. He just gives her his drink.
Yeah.
And then she wakes up and there's 2 Piltover officers who are like, "Hey, look, it's you." And then suddenly, by the end of the episode, all 3 of these characters are in her Piltover squad when she finally agrees to become an enforcer. And these are the most baffling things ever, because
I am trying so hard to hold my tongue right now because this enraged me.
I want to just get these 3 characters out of the way, actually. Let's not even going episode by episode, because there is no point going episode by episode with these guys. They're useless. These 3 characters serve absolutely no fucking purpose until they are suddenly forced into it.
Ceremoniously killed off.
Yeah, so the shield guy does basically absolutely nothing in any of the episodes. He gets absolutely no screen time. He gets like booted out of the show by episode fucking 3 for no fucking reason. He just basically has a super shield, is part of the Enforcer Squad, says literally no dialogue, says nothing at all, and then dies at the final episode. That is also was somehow part of Vi's later wrestling thing. I don't fucking know. We don't know shit about him. He's not in the video game as far as I know, so I don't know why he exists. Then lady that you're all looking at right here, this little lady.
Yes, Maddie.
This is probably the most fucking weird ass character to be invented because you can just see the writing on the wall. So she's
functionally
just
the shipping.
She is the shipping. Yeah, she is the shipping character as she fucks Caitlyn for a while, and then as they're in a relationship because Vi and Caitlyn for some reason aren't.
Yeah. Oh, and it gets even better. This lady over here plants the idea in Vi's head to join the Enforcers, because apparently the show is trying to tell me that Vi is a useless lesbian who cannot help it when a cute girl starts complimenting her. And I just think, wow, show, you suck.
We'll get to Vi, but let's first focus on the useless things. So, she is just for some reason Caitlyn's fucker for a while, quite literally, and then Caitlyn breaks up with her because, of course, the two vulvas of the main protag are still attracted to her through time and space, and so she just gets dumped, and then in the final episode's revealed to be a double agent for Mr. Warrior Woman. To which, why?
Yeah, especially since that comes out of nowhere, which is really.
It's so you don't feel bad when she gets killed off.
Yeah, we don't know anything
Caitlyn
about
runs back over to Vi.
Her entire character is I fuck Caitlyn. That was literally it, and then suddenly she's double agent. There's no foreshadowing. There's no hints. It's just that, and then she gets immediately killed. She gets immediately killed by magic, and so great, she's dead. And this is the best of the three. This Mr. Fish guy, because he's the only one that seems to actually react to anything or say anything sensible at all in this.
Oh no! Aspiring, you got it wrong. This man never says his piece of dialogue. Mr. Shield Man is the one who says anything at all.
He does.
He actually talks to Vi a little bit. But this guy, not a single guy. We don't even know his name. I mean, I don't remember.
I swear,
Shield Man's name. No, Shield Man spoke a bit.
Okay, I'm gonna say this: if he did speak, the fact that I can't remember it at all should be very clear.
Yes, that is an indictment of how little that character added to the story.
I remember this character more because in the final episode. He had other moments, but in the final episode, he struggled so hard to just blow up the fucking thing, and he almost did.
The Victor Ball, yes.
Except of course, Lady sabotaged him. He got fucked over by Lady character.
An anti-ex machina.
So, yeah, these three characters don't know why they exist. Don't know why they've been added. They get very little screen time, and for some, it's just we're moving on with these three. We're not mentioning them again. They are plot devices, and that is it.
Yeah, they're they're in the background.
Yeah. So back to the first episode. Let's see. How do we want to fucking format this? I believe the first one goes.
Should we just talk about Jace and Victor? At least their role in the first episode, since their arc is where we pick up.
All right. Let's get. It's in the first episode. So Jace and Victor. Jace is having just survived the explosion. We don't know how, by the way. It is not fucking made clear whatsoever.
Oh no! We know how he survives. It's because Mel inflexively.
No, we do not know. No one could fucking tell until she stated it in episode 7 or 8.
All right. I mean, there was a shot that made it very apparent that's what happened.
That was not an apparent shot at all. There was a shot. It was not apparent. I want to say this.
I mean, there's a very clear circle around it, but I am going to say this. The fact that somebody needed to point that out to me is a problem.
Yeah, that would be my bigger criticism of the magic mostly, is how fucking out of nowhere it is, because they don't show it very well at all until she becomes most OP person ever. But anyways, moving to Jace and Victor for a second. So Victor is about to be fucking dead. He's just bleeding out on the ground. Jace is worried, so he takes him to the Hex Core. You know, the thing that managed to heal his fucking arm and seems to be healing his cancer, I think. And so Jace is like, I need... And then, you know, Victor just gets into super magic cocoon as the Hex Core tries to heal him. And then it does. And he just, for some reason, just isn't talking with Jace. He just kind of like, you've used the Hex Core. I must leave now. Goodbye.
I'm going
Jace.
now. My planet needs me.
Yes.
Something calls me elsewhere. I must go. You did not listen to me, Jace. Don't worry. Our paths were always going to separate. Motherfucker, he kind of needs you. He kind of wants you. He is talking. He is trying to talk to you. He feels bad about everything. And you're just fucking off.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now.
dick.
Like, so, Jason Victor over here, this episode, I think the amount of content, we were waiting for a bit to see what happens, because, well, we know, obviously, Victor becomes the Machine Herald. He ends up becoming whatever he ends up as in League of Legends. So we were just sort of waiting for what's going to set it off. And this is a good opportunity, you know? I'm going to give the writers some credit over here because, well, actually, no, I'm not going to give them any credit. This was just setting up from the first season. So, yeah, this was just them doing a simple, logical continuation. It's like, I'm not going to credit them for that. That's just basics. So, yeah, there really isn't much to say about these two lads in this episode because, well, they don't really do much.
Yeah, they're kind of Sir's not appearing in this movie a little bit.
They started. Their roles was starting to become diminished in the first act of this new show of the season. It was quite disappointing because, I mean, sure, we didn't see them until the episode 2 of season 1, but that was season Bloody 1.
Yeah, they're now pretty pivotal characters in multiple ways.
And he just pisses off. He just throws him into like the goon tomb, to borrow a term, and he is just over there. And the council is making all these making these decisions. Let's go to war. Let's weaponize Hextech. All behind Jace's back. And I was sitting there wondering, Jace,
you can build it without them.
Yeah, Jace, do you not have anything to say about this? Or I get you're in a lot of distress right now, but might go out there, tell them we're not going to weaponize this stuff. And they made a vote behind his back. They voted on a decision with him not present. Now, apparently he was going to resign, but when he
did not officially resign yet.
Yeah, he never did.
It also does not mean. Also, he very clearly wouldn't resign at this point after this happened.
Yeah, absolutely. He's needed now more than ever. He wouldn't. He's no longer the same character that he was from before. Because I get it. His buddy is in the goon tomb. He's probably not going to make it, but he still has a city to defend. He still has a council to be a part of. They should be more concerned. Actually, that's another thing. Nobody in the council seems to have any concern for Jace at all, even though he was their golden goose. His technology that he worked on with Victor put their bloody city on the map.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be making any sort of decision, especially regarding Hex Tech, without the consultation of the guy who invented Hex Tech.
Yeah, since he's the man who made it. He has
and
final
Victor
say
both.
He took pretty much control over Piltover in the last season.
Yeah.
And
all because of his innovation.
Yeah, he is functionally the king of Piltover.
Yeah. Functionally, the president of Piltover, anyway. But
Yeah.
I see your point. But also, of course, the fact that another thing that really irks me about this is that so they're making this decision to go to war with Zon, and yet they were voting on just letting them go. Yeah, Jace had made a deal with Silco. I'm not sure if that was even brought up or mentioned to anyone over here, but that should definitely be extremely relevant.
It feels like they're using the off-screen defense. You could technically do that, but it's really weak.
Yeah.
It's like they were discussing it as the rocket hit, but other than that, not really. There's no discussion. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. But there's just so much that should be happening that just isn't happening. Instead, they're rushing straight over to the war arc.
Yeah.
They just want to get over to the fighting immediately without addressing any of the stuff that they just made happen. Because there is quite a lot that needs to be addressed that they just haven't at all. But I'm going to give my tongue and brain a break. Aspiring, if you would like to take over.
All right.
Especially with this bit where Caitlyn basically commits a bunch of war crimes.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, so Council has decided to clear board. They're trying to pick out a leader to some extent. Except for some reason we've just decided Jace will not be the leader. Jace has recovered Victor, but then gets left, and then he just suddenly seems to not know what the fuck to do, because he then proceeds to do nothing. I want to make that clear. He does fucking nothing. And then also there is an attack on the fucking there's a speech. And there's an attack. And then it's implied, I believe, that War Lady Woman was responsible for getting that attack to happen.
Implied is putting it lightly. They practically showed us that she did it.
Yeah, they do show it.
But that's at the end of episode 3 of this new season. But yeah, you could easily get the impression that she wanted this to happen at the very least. And frankly, I think they should have left it at that. Like, she just sort of smugly looks and she's satisfied that this attack happened, but she never orchestrated it.
Yeah.
So the attack happens, everyone's angry, and they decide this is what we need to do. It's only Jinx, according to them, that's the problem. We're going to make a squad. We're going to go down into the Undercity, and we're going to go get Jinx. So what exactly is Jinx doing, you might ask?
Nada.
So,
even better. What is the Undercity's response to this?
Yeah, so first off, it doesn't seem clear that the Undercity does not know that Jinx fucking killed Silco, it seems, which is, important. Her right-hand woman is currently scrambling to try and keep the power, but at this point, they've all just decided, fuck it, we want to just give our own, and we want to just give Jinx over. Which, not a bad idea, but also most of the Undercity does not seem to have the whole let's hunt down Jinx. You'd think the entire Undercity would be trying to get hold on her to either give her up or do something with her. But no, most seem unaware except for one guy who was on Silco's council.
Yeah. No, that's another thing that's wrong about all this is that
there are no consequences
for
Silco.
Yeah, there are no consequences for it. When the whole this whole first season was the consequence of a botched attempt to steal something from a Piltover penthouse. The whole first act of season 1 was just the knock-on effects of that. Meanwhile, the head of the Undercity gets cut off, and nobody gives a shit. Everybody's now just vying for control and fighting each other now. But nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to ask, wait, why is he dead? Who killed him? When did this happen? There's no attempt to investigate it. And
Savika
then
doesn't kill her.
Yeah, and Savika doesn't immediately blame Powder or Jinx. Sorry, she doesn't immediately blame Jinx and try to kill her, because let's be clear, Savika fucking hates Jinx, like hates her
a lot.
She would be absolutely livid to discover that Silka was dead, but even better, she would be jumping with joy at the opportunity to just kill Jinx and get rid of her, let alone to pin the whole thing on her. And of course, since Vi and Caitlyn both know that it was Jinx who blew up the council, well, when they get down over there, you better bet that Savika's going to toss over the body, essentially, especially if Piltover is looking for Jinx specifically. Like, this whole first act should have been a manhunt from both the Zonites and the Pilties to hunt down and kill Jinx.
Yep.
Yeah, something that everyone expected coming into this season is that the season was going to be hell for Jinx. She was about to become everyone's enemy. She is someone who burns bridges, and the only thing keeping her safe, she killed.
Yep. And no, she's just wandering around while the Chem Barons are all civil warring with each other, which is also happening in the background, by the way, instead of being the forefront, which it should be the forefront. No, she's just sort of just minding her own business while the world is falling apart around her because of what she did. And she doesn't care.
Yeah, Jinx doesn't seem to have a point. She doesn't seem to be doing anything. It's like, you just declared war. Did you not? What are you doing?
She just nuked the top side.
She doesn't seem to really understand it. And also, I think another problem is they kind of don't seem to understand the darker aspects of Jinx's character and just kind of, she's like super quirky and stuff.
They turned her into Harley Quinn.
And they turned her into the Harley Quinn from the frickin' DCEU, arguably the worst iteration of Harley Quinn.
No. Just Harley Quinn in general nowadays. Like, whatever Harley Quinn was before, she is no longer that. Whatever she is now, that's what she is. And now this is what Jinx has devolved to. She used to be what Harley Quinn wished she was, and now, well, to be fair, Harley Quinn of the past was what Harley Quinn of the present wishes she was, but I'm getting off on a weird tangent over here. But now, Jinx is just, she's just quirky, having fun, and making announcements, and having, like, faux gladiator matches with Grogu. That's what I'm going to call. I don't care that her name is what was her name anyway? I forgot the name of the kid.
Girl. That is it. Just call her Mute Girl.
She is the Mute Kid. Oh, Isha. It was Isha. Yes, that was the character's name. But this little shit just sort of drops in on Powder, and Powder's system was annoying and grating, irritating shit ever. Yep, that's me. And instantly my brain thought, oh no.
It's very much, you stinker.
Yeah, it's like the second you hear somebody start with that, you immediately know this is not this is going to be like the quirky. They're going to do the so quirky but relatable crap, and it's going to suck.
It doesn't
seem
the
direction.
Understand that she is a mentally disturbed individual.
Yes, she just murdered her father figure. By accident, no less. She has a breakdown and decides to commit an act of terror while screaming and crying. This was the last time we saw Jinx. She should be a complete miserable wreck when we see her again.
Mm-hmm. But they don't, because the writers in the show seem to have lost their talent. It's extremely frustrating.
More like the writers who were there for season 1 were not there for season 2.
Mm-hmm. Where they curbed a lot of the bad ideas of the other writers and kind of actually like made it significantly better by assimilating a lot of the ideas. And saying, no, we got to be patient. We're not going to just immediately have Caitlyn and Vi have sex.
Yeah, that was very nice. They had You see, it was you in season 1. You simply look at Caitlyn and Vi and you think, oh, they'd be cute together, and that was that. That was it. But season 2 is like, no, we need to have them bang. We need to have them bang in the same jail cell where Jinx said that she was going to kill herself in to Vi. Because that is tonally consistent.
Yeah.
It's a bold strategy. Let's see where it gets them.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
I'm also going to apologize, Aspiring, for going off, but as you can tell, I have thoughts.
Yes, I know. No worry.
Anyway, let's see. So, yeah, here's what. It's not enough to simply criticize. It's not enough to simply point out faults when criticizing. One should also be making suggestions on what they should have done. So what they should have done is that episode 1 should have been reeling from the impact of all that. Mel dies and Jace is extremely distraught. And Bessa is also extremely distraught as well and upset. And they are sitting and she takes advantage of the opportunity, and they both end up agreeing that they should be going to war. And with most of the council gone and all the remainders being like, holy crap, they tried to kill us. Of course, that's what they're going to end up doing. But Jace obviously is also going to be a little, how do I say this? Not so sure about it, because he remembers that Silka was willing to parlay with him, but then
also,
this happened.
Vi and Caitlyn come in and say, offering their witness, I guess.
Their insights, yeah,
and especially considering that Caitlyn functionally becomes the new dictator of Piltover later.
No, I mean, we're not even considering this in this alternative version of the story. But yes, okay. They should be coming in and providing the details, and either it's too late because they've already made the declaration, or Jace immediately issues a manhunt for Jinx.
Since she's functionally she's the one who's responsible for this. It's not Zon. She was a lone terrorist.
Yep. And eventually the Zonites are going to discover that, Jinx was responsible for the killing of Silco. And even if they don't find proof, Savika would find the body eventually, and she would pin it on Jinx. It doesn't matter if there's proof or not. And let me tell you already, there's already a plethora of proof over there, an absolute cornucopia of it, if I'm using that term correctly.
Cornucopia,
yeah. She will find the body at a mock tea party, stylized after whatever the hell Jinx would do. Immediately, the first thought is, so Jinx killed him. Nice. I'm going to go ahead and just let everybody know that now. And because here's a thing that really pisses me, that really grinds my gears about the way they set up the whole Chembaron war backdrop. I'm not even going to call it an arc, it's just a backdrop. They all know that Silco died, that he's dead, he's gone. But none of them seem to care who did it or why. And none of them seem to even bother finding where the body is.
Hell, you'd think one of them might try and take credit.
Yeah. But I guess the writer, I guess Christian Link sort of forgot about that. And yeah, I am going to tie his name to it because he's the guy who wants to take all the credit, so you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And what he sowed was Arcane Season 2. So, good job. So, yeah, we're just going. So the terrorist attack happens. So that's episode 1 done. Do we even want to go into further details about episode 1 aspiring?
I think
At this point, we're in episode 2.
Yeah, I think we're well and truly in episode 2.
Yeah, especially since the whole this whole slot machine thing is so stupid.
Yep.
It is so dumb.
Oh, and the gas. Should we talk about mysterious Tism gas that isn't going to be addressed until episode 3 or something?
It's like we all seem to think it's some living weird corruption thing that's going to be its own plot, and then it's just oh no, it's Caitlyn gassing the Undercity.
Yes, let's gas the Underhive, Caitlyn. That's a great idea. The people aren't going to hate us at all for that. This is going to work out famously. You hear? Yeah, it is. So episode 2 happens. I don't even want to remember what happened.
That is Caitlyn becomes Hitler.
No. That's episode 3. That's the end of this act.
Oh yeah, it's Caitlyn makes Vi go against all of her principles.
Yeah, sort of. This is the Jinx episode, if I remember correctly. This was just, let's see what Jinx is up to, and she finds a little kid, and she takes the little kid on quests with her, and such, and they do. Yeah, they fightsies with underground people. Yeah.
Yeah, with Smeech in particular. He's kind of the main good character in the show.
He was okay. He was a thing. He was all right.
He was fun at least, and they don't do any.
He was inoffensive.
Damage. They don't do any significant damage to him. He also moves. He's also surface level cool in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he was just, he wasn't a bad inclusion. Good job, writers. You didn't mess this guy up at the very least. I just wish you gave as much thought and consideration to the characters we actually care about. Remember Vi? Remember Vi? I remember Vi. Remember how she basically took the internet by storm by being the single best female character in fiction for years since ever.
Yeah, the
I
main good
remember
one that I
that.
can. Yeah, the main good one that I can think of was Rio Tasky from Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
She's one of the main ones that I recall. Since I haven't seen Atomic Blonde, so I can't really comment on that. I've heard decent things about it though.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but every Violet came out was Arcane came out in a time where we had a dearth of likable, relatable, and well-written female protagonists, and then we got blessed with Vi, who became the gold standard. And what's she up to? She becomes a cop. She joins the Enforcers, the people who murdered her family when she was a kid. Like, the opening shot of the show was her looking across the bridge, seeing the freaking Enforcers, finding the dead body of her mother, and the end shot of that first scene is her clenching her fists and scowling at them from across the bridge with a good old look of vengeance in her eyes. And now she's one of them.
yeah,
With basically zero setup. With zero build-up. She's just an enforcer now. This would have been an episode 6 payoff.
but they have decided to fast track this whole thing.
Yes, because we have to set up for the other shows now.
Yeah.
Stupid. Anyway.
Yeah.
Episode 2 was just there, and it sucked. It was just, oh, Savika and Jinx are friends? They're friends now.
They're friends
He also
now?
blames Silco for some reason for a second. He's like, you set this all up and didn't give us any way to run it. He assumed he would be alive, mate.
Yeah. Oh. Hey, they also were going on about how selfish he is, that he just died on them or something. Like, it was just, oh, it was an unplanned, he just, died and then that was it. Like, they don't bother going over the fact that he was killed. They're talking about it like it was a suicide or something and reminiscing on him. But one of them is his murderer.
Yeah.
Like,
and that never comes up. This is a dropped plot line.
Yeah, one of the two women in this room who are reminiscing on Silco is the person who murdered Silco.
Yeah.
What show? What the fuck?
Yeah.
I shouldn't be swearing so much. I'm trying to restrain myself, but sincerely, what are you thinking? Are you high? That's the only thing I can say about this.
Yeah.
Are you high?
Yeah. Anyway, this is.
Yeah.
Really sucks.
I swear to God, we're going to end up with like a compilation of all the times you've said yeah so far this stream, and it's going to be at least 5 minutes long.
Probably. So, yeah, and we do have the fight with Smeech, which is surface level cool, but it makes no frickin' sense from a character perspective, especially since Jinx reveals, "Oh, I killed Silco."
And Smeech doesn't immediately look at Zavika, famously Silco's right-hand woman, and immediately says, "What are you doing siding with her? She killed Silco! She's the rat who murdered him!" And immediately that should be like, uh-oh, that's not good. That's the death knell for her. She has to... Oh boy, how is she going to get out of this one? She needs to get away from here right now. But no. He doesn't say that. It would have saved his life. But he doesn't say it.
Yep.
Because it would inconvenience the plot.
Yep. It's incredibly frustrating, to say the least.
Let's just move on to episode 3, I guess, if we don't have anything else to say about episode 2. I think there's something in there for Jace and Victor, but
yeah, it's mainly Caitlyn becomes gasses the entire Undercity.
Yeah.
And
Wait.
They just fast track so much. Either arrest or kill the last of the Cambarans. And it's just like, wow, that's really fast.
I'm sorry, could you please... What?
Yeah. It's
What?
done all in montage, but apparently, all...
Right, they do a lot of shit in montage that leaves everyone confused in this show, because no one really pays attention to that shit. Especially since
it happens so fast!
It's also not... Look, it's pretty art, but it's not exactly the most clear art.
Yeah, it doesn't make for good storytelling. All the Cambarans were either arrested or killed. When?
Yeah, they legit do not. Yeah, they legit don't seem to show a lot of this stuff. It's very annoying.
Hi, Trip. How are you?
Oh, look who came to here. How many times was I said over here?
I don't even notice. I didn't even notice I said over here.
I can see a little bit of it. It is a bit of a default for you,
I guess.
Hola, Trip.
I suppose.
You have come for pain. Mostly wisses. I am kind of apathetic at this point, I have realized. It has been so long, and I've just kind of been like, ugh.
Tragic, really. But, hey, I get to scream into a microphone about how they turned Violet, my beloved, into a freaking vibrator.
Unfortunately, you're not wrong.
And I would have
became the self-insert for the writers a little bit based on just how good of a treatment she got, all things considered.
Shout out to Nutsa, by the way, for coming up with that one.
Yeah.
I think I need to... I can't do episode by episode. Let's just do Vi as a character for a second. So, Vi's character, she initially... her and joining the Enforcers is incredibly rushed and gotten through with not really much weight. This should be a very big decision for her. But it's not really. She just kind of does it. And then the reason she ends up leaving is because she and Caitlyn tracked down Jinx, and then for some reason before that, deciding to get their 3 backup and send them away. I don't know why you've done this. I don't know why you decided, hey, we need to make this a 2-on-1 instead of a 5-on-1. It's not like your chances against her have been shit in past. So, you both decide to go to her. And you guys, and then for some reason, Vi is just shocked that Caitlyn is trying to fucking kill her. And granted, Caitlyn proceeds to go into dark mode. We shall talk about that in Caitlyn's time. But
she decides to shoot
Vi
a
is just
child.
Vi is just like, Caitlyn, maybe we're taking this too far, you know? Maybe we're just, this seems like a bad idea. and then just gets punched in the stomach by Caitlyn. And what does this cause?
Caitlyn basically causes Vi to go into Korra season 4.
No, I have a better
spiral.
I have a fuck Korra. Don't care. Here's a better way to describe it.
Well, it's the exact same.
Vi proceeded that she needed to go through some drugs and buy a new skin on the League of Legends store and go all emo, and proceeds to spend her time doing what? Right. She just starts to just fight people in a mosh pit, possibly for money. I'm presuming for money. That is what she's doing. It's not the fact Jinx/Powder is still out there, free, doing shit. She has failed in her quest, and after a punch from Caitlyn decides, I'm going to give up doing absolutely anything and just start fighting people for money because that was something she was interested in. She just said, fuck you to Zon, fuck you to the Undercity, fuck you to the Overcity, fuck you to everything. She doesn't seem to care about anything. I'd like to remind everyone that the only reason that Vi's not doing anything when we see her in the first season is because she's in fucking prison.
And even then, she's spending every single day obsessing about getting out and finding Powder.
So she has basically just become this aimless, wandering, flapping, torn down flag that doesn't really do shit and is only spurred into action by what? Oh, right. Jinx just finding her, coming into a room and saying, hey, Vander's alive, which for some reason she believes, and for some reason she is not trying to arrest the fucking terrorists that started all the problems currently happening. We will talk about the Jesus in a moment, but Vi just gets boosted into action by the actual main character of the show, despite the fact that she was normally quite a action-oriented character who would basically go and do her own thing no matter what. She literally steals the gauntlets to just go and do her own shit. She literally tries to just kill Savika. Mm-hmm. And so they find Vander, and then what's her motive? What's her quest? Right, it's just like she wants to heal Vander. What's granted is I hate how they've done this. I hate how they've resurrected Vander. So fuck that shit. But okay, she's trying to resurrect Vander. She has absolutely no relation to what's happening. No, she is kind of just going with the flow. Shit is happening. Shit is semi-related, and she is just kind of a part of it. She doesn't really do shit. She goes and reunites with Caitlyn and kind of does this whole plan, but I don't even know how much of that was Vi's plan and how much was Caitlyn's.
Yeah.
And so her motives are basically just kind of done. She is no longer a character that is trying to accomplish things. She is as a character reacting to things.
Yeah, and there's incredibly boring.
She is just now just kind of a set piece. That is her. The only reason she has any relation to the conflict is because of resurrected Vander person, who isn't even Vander at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, remember the first season where the whole plot is kicked off by her actions, that the world is responding to her decisions that she made? I remember that. I remember when she was the protagonist, a protagonist between herself and, well, a bunch of other characters. But apparently the writers seem to have thrown that away. I guess I'll just go ahead and get all of my complaints about Violet out right away. It's going to be a very, very... It's not going to take that long, I hope.
They finally ruined a lot of things about her, unfortunately, and destroyed her agency and basically turned her in. And it's funny, Legend of Korra is actually kind of does a depressive arc better than season 2 of Arcane. Which is kind of a searing indictment because Legend of Korra is kind of bad.
Kind of bad is putting it lightly. Legend of Korra is trash. It is useless trash that should have never been conceived or thought up of. Jesus Christ. The Avatar was permanently destroyed after Legend of Korra. Hell, basically the next show they're doing for Avatar is taking place in a post-apocalypse hellscape because of Korra.
Yeah, at least they
I
recognize
don't
that
like
Korra's
that,
an
actually.
awful person, or at least that her actions have terrible consequences.
7% approval rating in universe, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. So I'm going to go ahead and just simply rattle off about how much I hate what they did with Vi, because honestly, this is kind of controversial, but I think the best they ever did with Vi was in the first act of season 1. I really, really loved what they did with her character in that. And sure, the rest of it was also good, but do I think it was as impactful? Not really. Was it good? Was it great even? Oh, almost definitely. But then again, it's been a while since I've seen the rest of Act 1 of Season 1, so maybe I'm just not remembering all the great stuff that she did. But the point was that I'm just going to go ahead and go off on a bit of a tangent really quickly, just to establish the sheer volume and depths of my disappointment with what they did with Violet. So, as I said, for years, we have been inundated with what just the worst kind of female characters. The kind that could be safely described as embodying all the characteristics that feminists call toxic masculinity. Arrogant, self-righteous, just completely with no regard for any sort of sense of responsibility or accountability. And on top of all of that, they always just get their way at the end. They're just always the best ever. They beat up everything with absolutely zero effort. And of course their characterization is just flat. They basically don't have that any characterization at all. Dude, what are you on? I don't. What is this?
So I can assume that Mr. Fanatical Tactician actually did like the season.
If this is the case, please, Fanatical, I'm going to hope it's not the case. But if this is, kindly speak up so I can tear it to shreds.
Anyway, this was what we were inundated with for a while. This was the culture. And I'm also going to see...
Okay, never mind then.
I'm also going to say that we also have the other opposite end of this. Basically, so I played Stellar Blade, and I couldn't finish it because the game was genuinely terrible. I am sorry to all... no, I am not sorry to all the gooners out there who say otherwise. Stellar Blade was a disappointment, to say very, very lightly. And Eve's whole character is, I'm just a girl. Everything about her is, I'm just a girl. She's just so girly. She's just, oh, look at her, look how cute she is. And I hated that. I hate, it was just like, she wasn't cool. She wasn't interesting. She didn't have anything to her. And Violet from season 1. She was pretty much the opposite of that. She was cool. She was interesting. There were consequences to her actions. She grew and developed as a person. She was cool. She had a spine. She could handle herself, but she wasn't all self-righteous and indignant about it. Like, she wasn't aggressively arrogant or anything. She was just a tough gal.
Mm-hmm.
She had motivations. She had reasons for being. And she had notable character flaws that sort of got in the way of her getting what she wanted. And yeah, sure, her story was leading in the direction of tragedy, but at the very least, she was likable. You could cheer her on as she was just beating the ever-living daylights out of some thug. And then we got over to here, and she's barely even remembered by the writers.
Yeah. And they also bring Vander back. Only he's not really Vander.
That's not even a problem to me. Like, I didn't really have any problems with it, as long as it was setting up pretty well. But unfortunately, they sort of... I'm going to open up really quickly about episodes.
Hello.
So what was the drivel?
So when you started going on about the feminism stuff, I was kind of internally laughing because I've had the context of the games. I played League of Legends for years. I know Vi's character. I know Jinx and Vi's relationship. At least what it was eventually going to.
Hold on. Can I clarify something?
Okay.
I think you misheard what I said, because I was saying that before Arcane, before we had Vi, our culture was inundated with this sort of stuff in media. Like, prime example being Captain Marvel. Like, that is the icon of this stuff. And Rey Palpatine. This was what I was referring to. And Violet felt like an antidote to all of that.
But that doesn't make sense, because they're not trying to Vi or Violet isn't a new character. They're not writing someone new. Vi in the game has a specific character. She's very she is an asshole to basically anyone. The fists are basically define who she is. She likes to punch things. She goes around beating people up. She's a very rowdy sort of character. The character they build in season 1 is reflective of this. They are in a very poor part of town. She solves problems with her fist. It's building up it's building up the kind of core concepts that Vi is based on, which is basically her fist. And her rowdiness plays into her being in this sort of poverty-stricken area in Zorn. I will call it Zorn, as like the poor part of Piltover. And like that's all. It's all contributing to part of that, and you can bring in these aspects of like, this is the whole culture around like Captain Marvel and stuff, but that's all irrelevant to who Vi is.
I know that this is all. I know that she was made in isolation of all of this. Like, I understand a League of Legends predates this stuff.
Can I attempt to steelman both positions?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not understanding the position.
So the idea is that Vi is a fully rounded character, and they did not decide to change her character to fit with progressive talking points. Is that?
Yep.
They kept the character intact and made it so that, and kept her as a good character and did not inject things that would have that plague other female characters. They didn't attempt to cater to that particular side of the audience. Is that a good summary? Does that make more sense?
I mean, the point I was trying to get at over here was that with Arcane, the show, they had a chance to basically go along with the whole culture war BS, but instead they did not do that. They just simply wrote Violet. They just adapted her character from the game, but put her in a show and made her a great character in that show. And this over here was why she ended up becoming a sort of gold standard on the internet for a bit, because they did such a good job adapting her character from the game into the show. And, well, Arcane did give a lot of publicity to League of Legends. Lots of people learned about League of Legends, the game, because of this show.
I seriously
think
doubt
Fnatic has-
that League of
I think
Legends is
Fnatic-
kind of popular.
I will say, based on what you said there, that League of Legends doesn't give Vi any sort of emotional depth, and that was purely on the writers that they did that. They gave Vi a lot of emotional depth. They made her family relationships with Jinx and Vander and and Zorn as a city itself. They made that a focal point of her character, not a thing in the game. The games are very simple. It's just like it's a MOBA. It's like Dota. I play Dota and I play League of Legends as well. And the most you get between Jinx and Vi are like some quips that they have back and forth to each other. But that's the character is very much like that. You get presented a profile of who this person is. That you might get a backstory, but you can ignore all that and just play the game, and you never have a sense of who the character is. The show, the writing of the show they went on to then give her more emotional depth, to give her things, an arc, as it were. And I can see the point of like how she doesn't have much to do in season 2, but I think that's kind of indicative of like her place in the world of Arcane, is that she doesn't really occupy like a very influential position. She never has. In
season 1, she didn't have an influential position. The thing is, though, she was still an active character. She was still trying to accomplish things. That did happen to influence a lot because her relation with Jinx and her relationship with Silco do have massive ramifications. They end up playing very large roles in the conflict. She herself doesn't do much change, but she's still active, and that's kind of the issue of her not doing much.
Is it about
always be active?
Yeah, sorry. It isn't about like her actual position of influence in the universe.
Fnatic got a comment. Pause for a second. Fnatic got a comment. Got a comment.
This was going back to the comment that I made, is that like her actions spiral out of her control, and her not being a person of influence. She has the things with Silco, and the things with Caitlyn and Jinx, but once Jinx fired that missile at the council, Vi no longer has control over that situation. She can't influence Piltover. She can't influence Silco. She can't do anything. So her role in season 2 then becomes she's trying to hold on to whatever she can, and then when of course she gets thrown into prison. Actually, wait, I'm trying to remember the events of she gets thrown into prison in midway through season 1. Caitlyn brings her out. I'm just trying to recall the events. And Caitlyn brings her out, and then they're trying to solve the Jinx problem. Yeah. So after Jinx fires that rocket, Vi is in a perpetual state of trying to hold on whatever she has left. And she can no longer she can't influence events. Jinx is out of her control. Silco is now dead. Caitlyn won't talk to her anymore because Caitlyn has bigger things to be dealing with, and she doesn't know anybody else. She has nothing. She has no one to really. She can't do anything. She's just trying to. She's just trying to save whatever she has. And it's not much. And then like when finding Vander became that big thing of like she can have the family, she can have that family again. If she can fix Vander, and then Jinx is here as well, and they have that fist fight as well. And that's like the start of her trying to rebuild things. But that gets wrecked because of, again, the things that are bigger than her. That's the relationship between Noxus and Piltover, and Victor, who has the glorious evolution. These are all things much bigger than Vi, but they, like, what's his name? Singed created Vander, and Singe is now working for Noxus, and Noxus want Vander because they need to use him, because that's the weapon they need. And of course Vi doesn't want that, but there's not much she can do about it. She's against Ambessa. Ambessa has an army. And they, of course, have to, like, Jinx and Vi, they can't fight. They can't fight Ambessa. They couldn't. They lost. They lost in that scene where Vanda, what's her name? I don't remember. The little one that Jinx has, the one that doesn't talk, sacrifices herself to stop
Isha.
Vanda.
Isha.
Yeah, Isha. Isha sacrifices herself to stop Vanda, and that allows Jinx and Vi to escape, basically. And these are all things of, like, Vi, while she doesn't get that much, her character is what I would say pretty consistent with what they're trying to do with her. And I don't really have an issue with Vi. I have issues with Jinx. My favorite character in the entire show is Echo, who sadly doesn't get much screen time, but the screen time he gets is probably the most interesting the show has been. Victor was a disappointment. But that's kind of me coming from the game, because I know where Victor ends up, and I think that's kind of disappointing. Jace was very cool. But ultimately, the show's biggest problem is that the season 2 is trying to do too much with too little.
Yeah, it's extremely rushed. It's one of the things I really hate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that this was my, I guess, issue with, like, I guess, listening to you guys, is that, like, Violet, while I wish she had more to do, I understand why she wasn't doing any more.
Well, the thing is, I think it's how they wrote it to make that the case. If, again, I don't think she should have been an enforcer in, like, the first episode. That's a big
Was that when they were hunting Jinx?
Yeah.
Oh, so no, this is before they began the hunt.
Yeah, she's hunting Jinx because she agreed to be an enforcer, and I think that should have been something a bit more later.
Absolutely. Now, I understand what your point is that they basically wrote her out of it. They basically wrote her out of the show. However,
I don't agree with that. But sorry, go on.
She still has her agency as a character. Like, she was always dealing with things that were basically out of her control.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, like, I mean, you mentioned Ambessa had an army. Violet led an operation to save Vander as a kid from Silco, who, yes, he doesn't have an army, but he does have a whole bunch of thugs who are much bigger and stronger than she is, and she still decided to hold her ground against them as a kid. Like, that is some seriously inspirational stuff right over there. Like, this is not the kind of woman who would just sit there and be like, well, it's out of my control. There is nothing I can do. I'm going to go and retreat into the life of boxing and fighting people for money. No, I don't think she would do that at all. I think that she would definitely try something, anything, to set things right. But we're also going into the issue of episode 3 in the way that episode 3 left off, because I think I speak for pretty much everybody over here when I say that episode 3 basically had the ending for season 2. It was what season 2 should have ended off on, except more definitively with like, just that's it for Powder. She's dead. Like, this should, like, everybody over here is expecting that Jinx would at least die by the end of the series, because that seemed to be the direction that it was going. And they had that.
Yeah, this is the this is one of the issues I have with Jinx, is that she constantly gets reset like every act, and it's really annoying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought, like, oh, she is finally Jinx when she kills Silco, because that was like the big thing, but then
She
we've got
sat
suddenly she's
down.
back.
She sat down on the seat. She pulled aside the seat labeled Jinx and sat down on it. We had the big establishing shot of her basically accepting that she is a Jinx.
Mhm.
Who is this guy?
Prophet of the Dragon.
Oh.
Sup, Steve?
The other bigger issue I had, Jinx aside, because Jinx has been like a running problem since season 1. For me at least, the biggest problem the show had was Ambessa.
Interesting.
So the biggest. So
Ambessa the biggest problem.
It really is.
Yeah, explain. I'm interested. This is a good point. I want to hear more.
Yeah. So Ambessa, when she shows up in season 1, she makes a big show that she wants Piltover's weapons because she's fighting a war. She is orchestrating a war, and then she's been sent to Piltover to get weapons to assist in this war. And then she, of course, learns about Hextech, and it's like, well, I need Hextech. And then they're of course they're doing the whole thing of trying to give her, or trying to basically push her back as much, try to give themselves as much room as possible before they give her Hextech, because they're dealing with their own stuff. But she spends so much time in Piltover, in getting invested in Piltover, but the entire time we're supposed to keep in mind, and this is one thing she says this specifically, she is fighting a war. So it's been established that she has a time limit, or not a time limit, but like she's working under a specific time frame. And it's never really enforced by anyone. It's never been enforced by like the writing of the show that she's actually getting more desperate. Instead, she then starts spending more time in Piltover. She then starts getting involved in more the happenings of Piltover, even to deploying her own soldiers as like it's, and then establishing martial law. When since the beginning, all she wanted was Piltover's weapons, but she then starts basically taking over Piltover and then having to inherit all of the conflict that Piltover is dealing with when it comes to Zorn. And again, she's just committing more and more resources to this. And that's the biggest problem I have with her, is that she doesn't. I don't really.
She doesn't come off as somebody.
There.
Yeah, she doesn't really fit in there.
Yeah,
is what you're getting at, and
yeah,
her establishment was, and her establishment was that she was on a time limit. Now, I may have. Now, it's been a while since I last watched season 1, but I don't actually recall her saying that she was at war. I seem to get the impression that she was in trouble, yes, but she wasn't at war. She just needed weapons to prepare for something.
She seemed to have the impression of there is a threat that I need to handle, and Hextech is my main hope for beating that threat.
Yep. And like I was saying prior, there was a brilliant opportunity in this show to basically catalyze that, to galvanize Jace into the idea of making Hextech weapons, so that way Ambessa could take advantage of it and get exactly what she came here for, and that was the Hextech weaponry. But they did not take that route. Instead, they decided to whisk away Melmaderda and throw her all the way to God knows where, so that way she can become a mage.
That was annoying as well. That's one of the things they rushed because Mel goes from not really controlling her powers to she
being
uses it
OP.
very instinctively at the beginning of season 2, where she invokes her powers to try to survive the missile, to then being able to basically master it over a series of not really training, but just sort of repeated, I guess, interrogations. She begins to master it.
Also, I have to say that her magic does not fit in the world. It is just... It's like she is the most powerful character to some extent. The only reason to some extent is because Victor might be more OP in the fact that he almost kills her, but she's basically invincible. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Speaking of
They
Victor,
do not
my
show
God.
Hextech being a good counter. That was the whole point. Hextech's supposed to counter some of this in some way, but we don't really see that ever.
Yeah.
I thought Hextech would go a different way. I thought Mel would actually be a different character.
I don't know about that.
I thought she
Yeah.
would be good in this season.
Oh, as in like from the games. I thought she would be a different character that's in the games because the indication of her powers suggested something different, but then it went a different way. And
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. She didn't have any powers in season 1.
no, she was a political figure. Her powers only,
Yes.
I think, show up at the end.
Now, here's the thing: her whatever her build, they did a poor job of hinting at that in this season and at the end of season 1, because that final shot of her was it suggested, oh, so she's dead, not that, oh, she has this magical force field thing that's going to protect her from getting exploded.
For a second there, I thought Valerian was talking. You sounded very similar to him when he does his parody. When he does his parody stuff.
I mean, yeah, great minds think alike, I guess. Whatever. We've really gone off the beaten trail. Yeah. So episode 3. Do we want to try to?
Are you going like an episode by episode?
Yeah. Do we want to try to rein this back in, or?
I do have limited time. I do need to head out.
Okay. I'll say one thing about the finale. Just one thing about it.
We can pick it up next week.
Oh yeah, sure.
You can just or talk about it tomorrow morning, since we're not. Well, no, probably it would have to be a 10. It would have to be 10 my time, 9 your time. So since I think
I guess
since I can't remember whether I have ward council or not. But but we'll have.
You guys are okay with making us into a 2-parter?
Yeah, and I actually like to have Fnatic on. Like I think as a fan, it would be a great thing to have him on for this.
I mean,
I have more negative things to say about Arcane. Like the Vi. The reason I came on to talk about Vi is that I didn't really have an issue with Vi. Throughout this show, Viathor was fantastic. Caitlyn was fantastic. Victor, I didn't like where he went, but I kind of understand where he went. Jace as well. There were just like these elements of like, I really hated Jinx, especially in season. Actually, not in season 1, but I didn't like.
She became Jesus.
Yeah. The way that they executed her, like the fact that she even had a redemption arc, just really an abrupt redemption was kind of lazy.
Yeah, it screamed like they didn't know what to do with Jinx, and that's what it seemed like to me.
How do you not know what to do with her? It was so obvious.
Well, actually, I would have to ask you to elaborate on that, because her end goal is basically is just to be a terrorist, and the annoying part was that they had to keep rebooting her in order to get her to keep escalating. But this is the joke I made to my friends, is that like, oh boy, here we go, Jinx is doing another terrorism.
Yeah, here's the thing, I don't think you need to change that. She is someone who is incredibly destructive, causing problems, and you want and everyone wants her handled. Basically, you're going to put her to the fucking ringer, and if you're willing to, and if you have the balls to, maybe even fucking kill her.
Which was exactly what I thought they were going to do.
She is the center of so much fucking conflict, and that was supposed to come back at her. Everyone was supposed to start hunting her, hating her, and she was about to serve. And if you want to do the redemption arc, have her go through fucking hell. She did not go through hell. She caused so much shit and manages to get forgiven, despite not really doing anything good and not being a good person and not really wanting to be a good person. She just kind of ends up being one because everyone keeps wanting her to be a Jesus character and popping her up. It's like, no one would. She is not inspiring. She tears shit down.
Yeah, the fact they try making her into a symbol, the fact that there are jinxers at all.
I don't know if I agree with the Jesus thing. Well, that was Victor, but like they were trying to make her into a sort of like Che Guevara sort of character, which I found really, really funny. But it's like whole deal just didn't vibe. It's just like she kills people, man.
Yeah, that is her character. She doesn't really want to change that. We see nothing that would make her change that. If you want her to have a redemption arc, you need to first have her get slammed with every consequence she has been tallying up. The only reason she didn't suffer as much consequence in the first season, and to be clear, she fucking did, is because Silco was partly protecting her. She just killed that protection. There is no one on her side, including Vi.
He's supposed to be the wild card between like the wild card thrown into the piece that they're trying to broker between Zorn and Piltover. Like she's supposed to be that thing that neither of them can control.
I would call it a wrench in the machine, a thorn in their side. I'm going to do the pun.
This would be
a jinx.
If I was forced to try and make a plan, kind of, it would be to have conflict between Zon and Piltover start, because I'm not sure if Silco actually told his board his plan. He doesn't seem the type to share that until he gets a result. So it's possible they don't know. Piltover has just got shit on and is probably angry and wants to have war against Zon. And so the Undercity might just find themselves in a war they were not prepared for, not expecting, and just suddenly kind of heaped on them. And yes, we know that some characters know that Jinx is responsible, and it's just Jinx. But not everyone is going to, and a lot of people are still going to end up wanting war regardless, because you just fucking shat on their goddamn peace offering. Or the one that was about to happen.
I thought they had a great setup. They had a great setup for Season 2. They were trying to broker a peace with Zorn, or with Silco, with Zorn through Silco. The council were voting on it. Jinx launches the missile, and now suddenly the Piltover has been shaken by the fact that they're trying to broker a peace, and we just had a missile from Zorn. We've had someone try to assassinate the council in their entirety with a missile
too. Successfully for many members.
Yeah, and now so Piltover's only response is to basically invade Zorn. That's the only thing they can do because they can't trust them anymore.
Yep.
It was right there.
Yeah, it was all set up for a war to start, one that she would be fanning the flames of.
Yeah, this is kind of why I didn't really like Ambessa, because Ambessa just keeps kind of forcing herself into the plot, which was never really about her.
She was supposed to be. So the reason I like Ambessa is because I think it's the main core of the show was Hex Tech. It's called Arcane for a reason, and Hex Tech is basically representative of new technology, and she is the kind of person who wants to weaponize that new technology. She is that pressuring force for Jace and other characters to weaponize these. And the war would be kind of how she uses that. She did not need to be a main part, but I do think she was a good addition in Season 1, because she was supposed to play that integral role.
I would disagree because by the end, when Jinx launches that missile, Piltover has the impetus they need to arm Enforcers with Hex Tech and basically make Hex Tech power suits to then throw at Zorn. They have that impetus now, and Ambessa, while is that sort of pressure, is applying a sort of external pressure. I don't think that was really necessary. Piltover was always feeling the pressure from Zorn, and it's always been the case, especially with Silco, who's constantly trying to make Zorn into its own independent state, and he himself would be applying that pressure to Piltover. So I didn't see the reason for Ambessa to really be there to push Hextech. They were already there. Jace and Victor were already speaking with Heimerdinger and the Council about the potential for Hextech to be used for weapons, and Jace and Victor at the time were like, no, we're not going to be using it for that. And from my perspective, I thought the show was going to build towards the Council strong-arming Jace into making weapons.
Well, I believe the Council themselves don't actually mention Hextech being in the weapons that much. Because most of Piltover is very much a scholarly-based society. They're very oriented on more technology, resources, advancements, trade, that kind of stuff. She is the only one that's really war-centered, the general of that sort.
No, this is a scene that happens in the Council. Jace gets asked by the Council to make weapons.
At what point?
Let me find out.
Yeah.
Oh my god, no.
Yeah, well.
What? No.
I know, I've seen the bingo card thing. Jesus, no.
It's for Wheel of
I know, I'm well aware.
To Wissia, since he doesn't really.
This is in regards to Wheel of Prime.
Yeah, I kind of vacillate which is worse, Wheel of Prime or Rings of Power.
I feel like between the two, I feel that Wheel of Prime is significantly worse.
Huh, okay.
I feel like Wheel of Prime is just a searing, scathing satire of the fantasy genre as a whole.
Huh.
Like,
Also
it is...
Rings of Power?
Yes.
Interesting.
From the one episode that I saw of Wheel of Prime was just so comically, ridiculously, hilariously bad that I just couldn't take it seriously. I couldn't. I just accepted that I am watching slop. I am watching a bunch of nonsense on the screen being slapped together, and this is supposed to pass as a fantasy. Ridiculous looking costumes that are just so absurd that I don't even imagine anybody unironically wearing it, with dumb, vague talks of esoteric ideas. It's just if I was to go on, we'd end up needing another stream.
Yeah.
Point is, Wheel of Prime was awful. This is, if there could be a negative 1 out of 10, it would be Wheel of Prime. So bad it becomes comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. I do actually have contention with some of Fnatic's point. I understand where he's coming from with Ambessa not really being necessary to the story. However, I don't think she takes anything away from it. She doesn't harm the plot per se. She just becomes another reason to push along the development of Hextech weaponry. The problem that everybody, the problem I feel, comes from the way that Season 2 it was handled. Because if Season 2 was good, Mbessa would have been a great character.
But they kind of ruin a lot of things and retroactively make it a lot worse.
Yep. And, well, again, as I kept droning on about at the beginning of the stream, one decision would have greatly, dramatically altered the course of the show. And I am sorry to everybody, but I liked her too, but Mel really needed to die at the beginning of episode 1. I'm sorry.
I agree.
Like, her death would have catalyzed so much. It would have given Jace so much motivation to go full warmonger, especially with Mbessa by his side.
Jace are mostly enforcers.
Which oppressed their city and killed their parents, of mass murder is an inaccurate description of her actions.
No,
that is
mentally unstable.
That constitutes mass murders in any book. I don't care who the individuals were. If they were just minding their own business and then you slaughtered the whole lot of them, then yeah, that's a murder.
I don't know if I agree with her being brainwashed by Silco. Sorry, go on.
No, absolutely not. Silco did not brainwash Powder. He just simply nurtured what was already there. And I will let the implications of that just sit.
Mm.
And I mean this too. If you had like a squad, like a bunch of American, like you had a bunch of soldiers just going over to a bar one day, and they're off duty, and then some guy comes in and shoots up the whole bar and kills the lot of them, I would call that a mass murder. The fact that they were soldiers is immaterial to the fact that they were just minding their own business. They were not in uniform, they were not armed. And even if there were a bunch of police officers just standing around and guarding an area, if somebody goes up to them and shoots them all up, I am going to call that a mass murder.
You kill council members also with whole rerouting the Deathly Air from Zorn to Piltover. The people of Piltover should have mass died, but no, she just called it all because of redemption.
Yep, that too.
Yeah, that was really strange. That like she sent up this what looked like poison gas right up into Piltover, but there were no consequences.
Yep. And of course, I just love how episode 2 introduces this poison gas, and we see it and we're just like, what the hell is this? And we had no idea what the heck this is.
They also tried to keep implying it's sentient, which was just a weird little red herring that meant nothing.
Yeah, that too. I legit thought that, is there some sort of eldritch monster? That doesn't make any sense. Why the heck are you doing this show? We don't have time for this crap. But it's like, oh no, Vice is gassing the Zonites with Caitlyn. She's doing what?
Yeah.
And Bessa was
also the fact that Vi is just okay with that.
Wait.
Remember, she is a Zon.
Pause for a second. We were just taking a look at this. Well, okay, we'll go back. Okay.
I don't disagree with anything you've like what's written here. The issue I have with it is that her introduction isn't really all that necessary for for like the actual conflicts that are within the show. She's introduced as her own conflict, and she comes with her own conflict with the Black Rose. But I feel like those elements were convoluting the plot more than they really needed to be, and so she was being introduced as elements that were making the plot more convoluted, and thus I didn't feel like her own plot was really emphasized all that much, which was trying to get Hextech weapons. But she doesn't really. The closest she gets is with Vanda, but that's well into season 2.
I feel like, though, here's the thing.
Hold on.
She represents a conflict that would happen. She, of all the other people not in Piltover Zon who want Hextech for themselves, she basically represents that. Because it would be. It's a very good technology. We've already seen its effects sort of in the outer world, where they are now a very high trade place. That's part of what made Piltover, boom and all of its prosperity. Obviously, other people are going to start wanting their own Hextech, and she kind of represents all of that.
But Jace is already aware of Hextech's potential to be used for weapons. It's something he vehemently was against.
It's not an awareness thing. It's a representing of a group that would have that.
An inevitability, if you will.
Kind of like, just imagine, this is basically kind of like how many foreign nations will go into a place that has a resource they want, knock on their door, and basically say, hey, we want this.
Yeah, if I may address a comment directed towards me. Yes, you could, by extension, call the enforcers mass murderers as well, if any of those people in particular were involved in killing a bunch of individuals. This is the great thing about a morally gray and ambiguous story. You can basically just be honest and call everybody bad. You could,
yeah. Sorry, going back to actually, since you brought up enforcers, so this is why I kind of disagree with Mbessa being that sort of threat, for not the threat, but like the impetus to make weapons. The enforcers would want those weapons to tame Zorn. And with Jinx's increasing escalation, which Silco was against, a constant escalation would be basically tempting Piltover to use Hextech as a weapon.
I'm sorry. I think I didn't catch that last bit. You were saying that the conflict with Zone would be a good enough impetus for them to create weapons?
Yeah, well, it's because of Jinx. Because Jinx is constantly hitting Piltover. I say constantly. I think there was like 3 attacks. 3 attacks, including the missile. Escalation, which Silco comments on when he tries to talk to Jinx. When she hit, I think she attacks somebody. She attacks enforcers, and then he's commenting on how many enforcers were dying. He's trying to yell at her, and then she's kind of revealing the stuff that she's found. But on the Piltover side, they would just be seeing the attack. They're getting attacked by Jinx over and over, and they need a way to deal with this because they can't control. The enforcers can't handle Jinx, and that's clear from their inability to capture her. So at least the council would see, okay, the enforcers aren't equipped to deal with Jinx, so we need something else. And if Jace has got Hextech, and they know that Jace can build tools with Hextech, as he's shown Heimerdinger, the fist and the laser, then Jace can make weapons, and they have Hextech. That's the edge that Piltover would want. Give the enforcers more weapons, stronger weapons to hit Zorn with.
Yep.
They need to tame Zorn. They need to capture Jinx. They need to capture Jinx. I did it again. Jinx. They need to capture Jinx.
No. From now on, she will be addressed as Zinx.
So Silco is aware of it. Silco is aware that Piltover could do the bridge again. The bridge at the beginning of the show. They could do it again if they want.
Jace explicitly threatens him by saying, "I've seen what a war between our two cities would look like, and your side has no chance." And I mean, he's not wrong. Yeah, and that's why
Silco doesn't want which is why he's trying to put a leash on Zinc. Zinx.
Yes.
That's why Silco is trying to put a leash on Zinx, because if she continues doing what she's doing, regardless of whatever her results are, Piltover will respond.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, I think we're all in agreement, though, that yes, Mbessa was not necessary to have the war happen, to have the invention of Hextech weapons. However, I don't think any of us over here would say that Season 1, she was contributing nothing and actively harming the plot. I don't think anybody over here would say that.
Yeah, I just didn't like how involved she was getting in Season 2. It just didn't make sense to me. If she was like...
In Season 2?
Yeah, like, because she declares martial law. She takes Zorn under martial law.
I would have
understand why, again, she's committing so much to when she says she's... Now, I do remember this as being a line, and I think I pulled it up when I was speaking with friends about the show. She does bring up this war. Like, there is a war she's dealing with. That's why she's at Piltover to begin with. So her committing so many Noxian resources didn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, guys, I do have to get going. I'm already kind of late. I have to see. We'll have to...
we'll wrap this up next time.
Yeah, we'll have to wrap it up next time. So, but thank you. We'll chat again next week. So, but yeah, I wish I could chat more, but I have something I need to get to. So I have to see you guys later.
Later. This is a real low point. Yeah, this one hurts.